Hi everyone, I'm JD from Willowbound Journals. Welcome back to my channel. So this is a video request from quite a lot of people, and I'm combining a couple or a few requests together. So the requests are, where do I get my inspiration, or how do I get inspired to make a journal and choose a theme? And also, how do I choose my pages, and how do I choose my ephemera and embellishments to go with the theme and all work together? So let's answer all of that together in this video. I have got some journals in front of me to demonstrate, and I've just used some Amity Bloom printables for the covers. And so I always start with the cover. That's just what speaks to me the most, because the cover is what invites me to open the journal and use it. So I need something that's eye-catching and beautiful and that inspires me and speaks to me. And I love blue and I love florals and I love vintage. So I got these ones, and I included a little sentiment here. This one I'm going to call happy, this one dream, and this one beautiful. And so what I then do is, once I've made the cover, a cover that speaks to me and that I love, is I just look at it, and it tells me what to put inside. It tells me the theme, it tells me what types of papers to use and what types of embellishments to use. So when I look at these covers, it tells me I'm going to be using a lot of blue, and I might use a bit of pink, and I might also, in specific journals, I might use a bit of yellow in this one. In this one I might want to use a bit of green and a bit of yellow, that kind of thing. So that's how I work out the colours of my journal, is the cover tells me what colours. And then in terms of theme, I know that I could go with florals, or I could go with vintage, or I could go with both. What I went with is more vintage mixed with the colour. So colourful vintage. So rather than the neutral vintage, I'm going for a bit more of colour, because the covers are very, happy, bright and colourful. And then because they're using Amity Bloom printables, I also want to tie in a bit of Nazi into these journals. And I know what kind of papers she likes. She loves using vintage papers and ledgers, and especially vintage French pages. Poetry book pages, that kind of thing, recipe pages. So that's kind of what I've done here, is I've gone more for the vintage vibe, since the color pages can represent the colors. And then I've chosen pages that remind me of Nazi, so the poetry pages, the French pages, the recipe pages. So I've already got my pages here. Oh, the vintage music paper as well, that reminds me of her. This is a vintage French book page. Excuse me. And so then this is vintage ledger, that's blue. This is a recipe page, and then I've just mixed it with your coffee dye pages and your coloured pages. So I do have a bit of pink, purple and blue. Oh yes, so there is a bit of purple in this as well, and I think pink, purple and blue just works really well together. So those are the colours I have. This is a vintage French dictionary page, glassine bag there, more vintage music paper. This is a vintage poetry page, vintage ledger. So you can see that's what I've mixed it with, the colours mixed with the vintage and pages that make me think of Nazi. And it all came from the cover. What was on the cover told me what pages to do. And then when it comes to the ephemera, so I know I can pull out those colours, pink, purple, blue. And I also know, for example, let me kind of show you, I put more pink in this one. So when I come to embellishing, some of them I've already sewn in, I chose more of the pink embellishments for this journal. And then, sorry, I got a tickly throat, I'm trying not to cough. So for this one, I had some more yellow themed ephemera. So I put that in this one just because it had a bit of yellow on it. That's all. So that is kind of how I work that out. And then for my ephemera, what I've done is just some generic things that I would put in all journals, things like glassine bags and envelopes. Doesn't have to be glassine, could be paper bags, any type of bag, an envelope. I've got some of my napkin decorated envelopes here. The pink I chose just because it reminds me of the pink in the pages that I've got for these journals. This one, it ties in a bit of the pink and the blue with the vintage elements to the script, and because it reminds me of Nazi and her bird, her Bodhi bird. Got some of my vintage postcards, again just for the vintage touch, and I know she likes vintage postcards too. I've got some more of Nazi's printables that I can add. I just got some of my own Polaroids, and her Polaroids actually inspired my Polaroids, so that calls back to lovely Nazi. And then, and because she loves flowers and blooming and that idea. And then we've got the vintage French tags that I made. This is a printable in my Etsy, along with the Polaroids. Again, just calling back to how I know Nazi likes vintage French things. I've got some just generic journal cards that I like to put in all my journals. I've got some sticker sheets that can double as journal cards. And just the flowers remind me of Nazi. Bright, colourful, happy reminds me of the covers of these journals. And then I've just got some kind of vintage style ephemera for some writing space, and it reminds me of the ledgers, the vintage ledgers. And then I've got this, which really does tie in perfectly with those covers. This is wallpaper pockets. And then I've got purple, just to represent more of the purple nature of the covers and the pages. Vintage bridge cards. Then I've got some vintage French vocabulary cards. And then I've got some of these little vintage style, I don't know what you call them, just ephemera pieces again, just to remind me of the vintage element. And some vintage tea card thingies or wills cards. And yeah, that's what I've got for these journals. So that's how I kind of do it. When I pull out my pages, I'm looking at the cover, looking at the colours and the theme I want to go for, and then when I come to pull out my ephemera, yes, I do grab them all out in one go. I like doing things in bulk and having everything ready to go right in front of me, rather than working along, pulling something out, go to the next page, find something. I want to have it all here already, and that's kind of how I know, yeah, I've got everything together, the pages go together, the ephemera goes together, and it all works well with each other and with the cover. So I hope that kind of makes sense and explains how I do that. And it's just the same with any other cover. If I chose another cover, all I do is find something that sparks my eye, that sparks my inspiration and creativity. And I'm like, yes, that looks awesome. And I put that on the cover, and then I work from there, and I go, okay, if it's a vintage French cover, I'll go grab vintage French items. If it's a floral cover, I'll go grab floral items. And you know, the cover always has a colour already on it, so then that will tell me what kind of colours to put in it. And yeah, that's how it all comes together. If you have any more questions about that, feel free to let me know in the comments, and I hope that met your video request or your questions about that topic. And yeah, in terms of just point blank, or having a blank canvas is what I mean, starting from scratch, nothing, where do I get my inspiration for making a journal there? It's literally, yeah, I just look for something that could be a nice cover, and then I run with that. So yeah, I hope that helps. Have fun making your own journals and being inspired by the materials around you, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye guys. Thank you so much for watching and for being here and joining me. A big extra special thank you to my patrons in June for supporting my channel and making all this possible. If you would also like to support my channel, you can become a patron. The link will be below in the description box. Becoming a patron gives you access to more videos, printables, personal updates, sneak peeks, and first access to my journals and creations. If you would like to support my channel through a once-off donation, you can also do that through the Buy Me a Coffee link down below. And if you would like to keep updated with what's going on in the world of Willowbound Journals, you can check out my Facebook group page. There is also a separate Facebook group page if you would like to see what the other Willow ladies are doing and get to know them. All the links will be below, as well to my Instagram and my new website with blog and access to my journal courses. There is the Willow journal course and the Anchor journal course. And thank you again so much for being here. I always hope to encourage you to journal and document your life because your story matters. and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.